Welcome to Construct Tech TV, and I'm Peggy Smedley. Once again, we'll be talking about more than just one city on this episode. We will be talking about an entire region. Portsmouth and Virginia Beach are both municipalities within the Hampton Roads Region. Both are part of the Regional Broadband Steering Committee, and they are directed by the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission. I think it's important to note that the Hampton Roads includes more municipalities, but these are just two of the cities that are heavily involved in deploying a next-generation network. Additionally, they are implementing a regional connectivity ring throughout 3 different phases, and this will connect 17 municipalities with access to transatlantic cables. Now let's take a closer look at Portsmouth, Virginia for just a minute. The town is a historic port city, and now it is aiming to become a smart city. Earlier this year, it implemented a fiber design master plan. The broadband project encompasses 55 miles of fiber options. This will help increase internet connectivity around the entire city. Now it is also connecting and conducting a citizen connectivity study. This study will survey both homes and businesses to better understand how they currently use connectivity and technology. This will help provide information on what businesses and citizens actually need. Now, I think this is so important when talking about smart cities, or any construction project for that matter. We need to understand what the user needs in order to build it. Once we do, we can then implement technology accordingly. Results from this survey can help create an action plan for cities to focus on where and what to build in the future. Now let's move over to Virginia Beach just for a minute. It has always been a tech-savvy city. The town is home to military technology for the Oceana Naval Air Station. The Oceana Naval Air Station was first opened in 1943. Much like Portsmouth, it has investments in broadband technologies, and this will help connect the city's GIS technologies. The city is also working with public and private partners to invest in information technology. It is leveraging technology to make city data readily available to enhance services. We are continuing to see a number of cities take the next big step to improve connectivity and become a smarter town. Portsmouth and Virginia Beach are just 2 examples, and we're going to explore more of this throughout this entire episode. That's a city connected, or should I say, a region connected. Portsmouth recognizes that connectivity is key to a city's success. That is why it is delivering on its vision of a new network. To achieve its goal, it has been polling its citizens on what they want from a connectivity perspective from a city. To talk with me all about this, today I'm joined with Daniel Jones, Chief Information Officer, City of Portsmouth, Virginia. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
So Daniel, talk a little bit about the broadband initiative that you have going on right now, because I think it's pretty exciting that you guys are talking about connectivity and high speed. And before we started the show, you and I were talking off air a little bit that you've been involved in this since 2016, so you really have some great insight in this. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. The broadband initiative that the City of Portsmouth has is both a singular approach and a regional approach. Our singular approach is creating the City of Portsmouth's own broadband municipal fiber network. This network will consist of 55 miles of state-of-the-art fiber optics, which will connect all of our municipal facilities, schools, public safety, as well as foster an engine for our economic development. As well, this same fiber network ring will serve as the regional connection point with other municipalities in Hampton Roads. The Hampton Roads area is the only centralized East Coast transatlantic cable landing station, which comes in at Virginia Beach. And the initiative that has been led by the regional CIOs is to create a regional connectivity ring which connects all of the municipalities as for fostering economic development, as well as the other cities within Hampton Roads on the northern side going towards the Richmond and the Northern Virginia areas.
So when you talk about this and you have this connectivity and you have this fiber ring that you talk about, what exactly does that entail in order to make that connectivity actually work that you talk about?
The connectivity works. One, there is a construction phase, and that is basically just what it is. It's construction. It's putting conduit as well as fiber optic cabling in the ground. Once that is in the ground, then you have equipment on each side of the destination points that will actually transmit the data into light, meaning fiber optic, to achieve high-speed connectivity between the point-to-point.
So when we talk about this, when everybody talks about that we're going to have all these great speeds and feeds, we really have to look about how important construction is involved in this, because this isn't just something you connect and you put data in. You can't have all these great data without having a construction element to it in order to connect and make these cities and your businesses and citizens have all the information that they want without actually building something first, right?
That's absolutely correct. Construction is the foundational requirement for any high-speed connectivity, because not only does it serve as what we refer to as the wire network, but it also refers to as a wireless network. When you have a cell phone provider, which is a commercial provider, the cell phone or the data transmission goes back to a tower, and then that information is offloaded onto a fiber network that reaches the internet. So at some point, all wireless is being transformed to a wireline infrastructure, which is construction in the ground of fiber optics.
And why that's so important is because you need to have the wired and the wireless for when there's like a major emergency where people go to hospitals and things like that. You always have to have connectivity going all the time because you have to have that emergency situations, right, for your emergency responders, first responders, all of those things you talk about to make a city and services working 24/7.
Absolutely. And it's not, emergency is a key component, but also it's for everyday use. If you look at the statistics now of the number of cell phones that are in a household, most all statistics say that there are no wireline, or that the residents do not use a wireline, that they use a wireless as their primary device. So as wireless becomes more prevalent, you still have to have the infrastructure to offload the data to a fiber optic network to get to the internet.
Well, you were involved in, or have been involved in, a big citizen study to make sure that you're offering your citizens what they want. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, as part of the initiatives from our city council of Portsmouth to become a smart city, the connectivity is one of the foundational elements of a smart city. The citizen connectivity study will focus on the connectivity that is available to our residents and businesses. This connectivity is important now as both residents and businesses are making decisions based on connectivity rather than location. People are not so concerned about being at a prime corner spot on a downtown street if they can actually have the connectivity to reach a worldwide audience versus to stay downtown. So this study will actually give us the data and the analytics behind what is currently offered within our city, the economies of scale that is provided for businesses, as well as the price points and packages available to our residents. It will also highlight our unserved and underserved areas of our city that we can hope to bridge the gap and close the digital divide on.
Is that how you're working now with other regions? Because that's what you were talking about, making this work with what you're doing at Portsmouth and Hampton Roads. You guys are all kind of working together in other parts, making this all kind of connected together, so to speak?
That is correct. The regional CIOs of Hampton Roads are part of an advisory board called the Regional Broadband Steering Committee, and that is what is referred to as the Hampton Roads Planning District, which is a regional district or an authority that helps spur projects. As part of that advisory board with the Broadband Steering Committee, we are all on the same page about building and constructing the regional connectivity ring to not only share information, but to foster economic development, public safety, as well as provide the speed and connectivity of all residents of Hampton Roads and not one single municipality.
So how do you envision Portsmouth being this really great smart city to accommodate what businesses and citizens need when it comes to not only their personal needs, but their business needs to make it this really ever-growing, connected, smart city?
As I kind of alluded to previously, the foundational element of Portsmouth being a smart city is the connectivity, and that is the construction of this fiber network. Through that, businesses don't have to be located directly in Virginia Beach or at the cable landing station. They would need to just be located anywhere within the Hampton Roads area, and with the municipalities creating the regional ring, they would have access to that. So with a business coming into Portsmouth, they could locate anywhere within the city, and then they would have access to the transatlantic cable landing station when the regional connectivity ring is finished.
When you look at this right now, feedback, when do you see all of this happening? Is it happening now? You have a start and finish date? How's all it shaping up right now?
We are in vendor negotiations right now. The construction schedule is laid out to be a 5-year completion. Once that is completed, of course, we will be bringing sites and phases online as they're constructed. But once that is completed, then businesses will have that access to either locally, or if they would prefer the global access with the transatlantic, they would have that availability also.
So are there partners right now that you've seen that you've signed up, or everybody's just starting to come into the fold right now?
Everybody's starting to take notice with what the region is doing. There are partners lining up as far as commercial carriers that are wanting what we refer to as a carrier neutral site, where they can come in and provide access throughout the region from one location. And we're also hoping to attract other providers as well that would give both businesses and residents more options or competition for internet service.
Well, I have to tell you, Daniel Jones, the Chief Information Officer of the City of Portsmouth, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, well, we appreciate it. That's our Innovation in Tech for today. Today, new high-tech infrastructure is making Virginia Beach a digital port city. It has connectivity to support large-scale data center developments. It is also investing in the creation of a local next-generation broadband network to move data more effectively. I'm pleased to be joined by Peter Wallace, Chief Information Officer of the City of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, Peter, let's talk about your broadband strategy. You guys have been doing some really great things. I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
All right. Appreciate the invite, opportunity to speak about it. So, as you're probably aware, Virginia Beach has become destination now for these Atlantic crossings. We are destination number 1 now on the map for the United States. We have 4 crossings so far. And we try to take advantage of that to say, how can we leverage all those broadband crossings and help not just City of Virginia Beach, but the region to bring innovative technology and design to our area.
Talk about what a broadband crossing actually means. Is it going to affect schools, hospitals, all these different things? When you refer to that, what does that actually entail?
So the broadband crossing is really from Europe, all these subsea cables from Europe into Virginia Beach. And so these are the very high broadband, 169 terabits per second. Facebook, Microsoft, all of those are carriers using that. And so what it's doing for us is making our region, as you know, the Ashburn, Virginia is the internet capital of the world. So we're trying, my goal is to make this also, why not here, why not us? We're going to have faster internet services than even Ashburn has. So why not become the Ashburn to the south? So yeah, as far as the regional connection, we're going to have the businesses as well as higher education and cities connected together.
And in doing that, you're hoping that it'll make things easier for all of the citizens and the residents in any way that they're connected, so that you can build larger communities, a more connected community. Is that ultimately the goal of what you want to do this? Because when we talk about broadband, everybody says they have it, we have this fiber, things are faster, but is the idea so that everybody says, look, we've got something unique, because everyone's talking about a smart city, but what makes what you have, what you just described, a little bit different than any other smart city that's around?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to do, because, yeah, if you talk to telecom, the Verizon of the world or whatever, they'll tell you, yeah, we got broadband in place. But I think really that's not so. We have a lot of digital divide still, a lot of underserved and unserved neighborhoods. So I think the first thing is to have a connected neighborhood, right? Access to these broadband, especially the high speed, to attract those business sectors, especially financial sectors coming in. So the thing is to be just that differently, this is the fastest broadband speed to come across the Atlantic. So we're different and unique in that, the fact that we can have destination to drive #1 competition. Because some of the cost is really, to me, it's a killer here in our area. We can definitely try to create a middle-mile strategy with our broadband region, but at the same time create middle-mile and middle strategy that we can get some internet exchange pricing that will now rival that of Ashburn as well. So that will help our business customers as well as our residents.
And that's something that most people don't understand, is cost has made it competitively unacceptable up to this point, is that it's just been unobtainable, right? And now by being able to do this, you build the right things. You know, the old expression, if you build it, they will come. You know, you have this opportunity to build something that really makes it different and affordable, so that businesses and citizens will say, this is the place where I want to hang my hat. This is where I want to be for the future, correct?
That is correct, you know, and we know it's all about speed, right? And the closer you are to the crossing, the less latency you have. So if you get really close to our region, now you have access to 169 terabits, and we have a data center exchange, if you will, that will now bring that subsea cables into the business sector, thus creating competition for anybody who wants to move in and then become a part of the community when it comes to offering broadband.
What are we talking about having to work with new construction to do some of the things you want to do? Because, you know, as we were talking about some of your other counterparts, we're talking about there is some construction. Are you going to be able to get some new construction efforts, data? So, I mean, there's a whole process that entails when you're putting in fiber on this. And this is going to spark some new opportunities, some new career opportunities to actually kind of generate revenue and things for the community that short-term and long-term that wasn't there before. Are there some really great new possibilities when you look at this?
Okay, so the first thing that we got to let you know is that the city have its own next generation network already built in. So we have connected all the city operations. We have 126 million miles of fiber within the city of Virginia Beach. So this will give us a great opportunity to now work with econ development and say, okay, what is the next area concentration for business? And one of those things for us is we do have a biotech company coming on board. So we can be the aggregate for that and say, you know, you're going to need a whole lot of data and speed. So why don't we help build our connection points adjacent to your right of way so that we can now have access from that last mile into your building. And that way they can use telecom to say, light me up for the last mile. But having that middle mile strategy does allow that business to be more shovel ready when they come. They don't have to wait for the Cox or the Verizon to dig. they could already be there by using the city's connection while we provide open access. So that's one of the goals.
So you have ability now, what you're saying is there's a lot of partnering. So you really have to have partners and people and a community to do things. And that's what's really nice about what you're doing here, is developing the right partnerships to make a lot of this happen.
Oh, absolutely. And also, just to get the permit, you mentioned the permit before, we also have a team here made up of legal and planning and IT. Ready, we can turn around a permit like within 2 weeks, which is sometimes take 2-3 months for some people. So we are very proactive. We also lessens the taxes on equipment, so that personal property taxes that people will pay on equipment. So we're allowing that and very fostering government, new business to come in and set up business here for a huge discount.
So are we looking at this? How long is the process entailing right now? How long do you see this is going to take? We were talking about this earlier. Are you seeing that this is something that the plan is ongoing? Do you see that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end? Or how long do you see this, continuing to go on? Because, when you talk about connectivity, it never really ends. You're constantly, when data, it's constantly a journey. But with what you have a project here and you have a strategic plan. But do you see this constantly being added onto to meet the needs of the citizens?
Yeah, it's going to evolve. As you know, technology evolves. It never really matures, it just evolves, right? So I think the first thing is, number one, to get access from the state exchange so that we do have a location that we can connect and provide access. I see this evolving into more IoT. As you start getting more sensors around the community and quite frankly the world, you're going to need the capacity to provide. As you look at 5Gs, working with Verizon and some of those telecom providers, they're going to have more need for fiber backhaul. So all this does provide the infrastructure to connect future business as well as current business. So it will evolve. As the demand increases, we're going to be ready for that, because fiber obviously is going to be in the ground and we can just switch out a router or something and make it faster. So it will evolve and continue to evolve for whatever comes.
Are there any surprises that you've seen so far that you didn't entail, hurdles that you've had to already overcome that you say, wow, we've learned from this, but we're still very excited about the journey that we're taking?
Well, one of the things I think we did expect it, but, one of the biggest things that we've seen so far is the local telecom vendors really trying to put a damper on what we're trying to accomplish by saying, and frankly, for them, it's about competition. They don't want anymore, right? But, we believe that if the underserved and on the unserved were addressed, we wouldn't have a need. But, we have school kids right now in certain neighborhoods that don't have access to the internet at all. And they're disadvantaged when it comes to providing homework and research. So we had the needs of the community in mind. And that's one of the reasons why we're also doing this, is to bring those kids to level the playing field, if you will. This way we can have everybody have access, not just at school, but also when they go home.
Well, I'll tell you, Peter Wallace, Chief Information Officer for the City of Virginia Beach, Virginia, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate the time again.
All right, and there you have it. That's our Innovation in Tech for today. The Hampton Roads Planning District Commission represents 17 localities and 1.7 million people, if you can believe that. And they are all located in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia. And it recently voted to support a regional broadband initiative. It's pretty exciting stuff. So today, I'm joined by Jeffrey Biku, Regional Broadband Director under the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission. Jeffrey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about broadband and how popular it is across the United States. Is broadband becoming really something that all the cities are doing, or are you guys really leading the curve right now on the cutting edge of what's happening?
Broadband is a necessity across the United States, and I think there's a lot of areas that are still do not have broadband, and they should actually have broadband. We in the Hampton Roads area are trying to make sure all our residents do have broadband at some point. So we're making specific initiatives such as our regional fiber ring to accommodate the needs of the citizens and bring broadband to them. A lot of the states, the federal government has a mandated 2 megabits that's required with it, as a broadband requirement through the United States, and about 15 million people do not have broadband that meet those standards.
So it sounds like right now the United States is still somewhat behind the curve, and you guys are really leading a great campaign and charge with what you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Broadband stems economic development areas. It stems higher education. There's a lot of benefits to having broadband. And again, the United States is definitely behind the curve. They have the slowest speeds among the advanced communities, and they're also, the highest paid. Americans are pay the highest for broadband as it stands right now.
So when we think about this connectivity ring, how's it really going to benefit citizens and businesses once you really get this all up and running? And what are we really going to see out of it?
So the connectivity ring was developed through our steering committee because of the transatlantic fibers that are coming into Virginia Beach. Now, the transatlantic fibers are 160 terabytes of data that comes into Virginia Beach. That's on one cable that's coming in. There's plans for at least 14 more coming in to Virginia Beach. So the steering committee is based out of is 5 city managers, 5 council members, and the CIOs for the Southside region. What they did is they came up and said, how do we take advantage of these transatlantic fibers? How do we get our citizens involved? How does our citizens benefit from this? The transatlantic fibers coming into the area is one thing, but how do you take it out and get it out to the rest of the United States and actually develop a business model for the region? So that's when we came up with the regional fiber ring. The regional fiber ring will actually tie all 5 cities together, and it will promote open access. So it's actually a dark fiber open access network that we're looking at building, where you can have multiple providers coming in now and utilize the ring to provide services to unserved areas, those areas that do not have broadband, the areas that are unserved and only getting 5 megabits of speeds at a time.
So when you talk about this regional connectivity ring, this fiber ring that you mentioned, what kind of economic impact are we talking? Because it sounds pretty significant when I hear you describe what its capabilities are. I have to imagine it's got to be significant.
So yeah, it is actually. If you think about what economic development is, right? So part of the ring is being developed and designed to pass through economic development areas within the cities, right? So think about it. If you have 100 acres of land that that's in the budget for the cities to develop and build communities, well, we're developing the ring to pass by it. So now that area will have a fiber connection. So if you take it a step further now, if you're looking to entice big businesses and say they want to put a data center in the area, or you look at what the benefits of each city has to offer. So Virginia Beach is a tech spot, we should say now, because of those transatlantic fibers coming in. Suffolk has more land and more areas where you can actually build manufacturing facilities. So this fiber ring will actually encompass and pass all those areas. So now if you have a major corporation that says, hey, I want to bring my businesses into the area, and they have 5 cities to pick from, depending on what kind of businesses they're trying to bring in, their fiber ring will actually tie right into their network, so they have connectivity to all their facilities throughout the United States.
So when you look at this right now, you actually have the opportunity to see not only the kind of connections you want, but you actually see new construction that's actually going to come from this, because manufacturing, businesses, new entrepreneurs are going to actually come and actually possibly build new developments in areas that maybe weren't going to happen because you didn't have the connectivity that would encourage or inspire corporations, businesses of any sort to come to your communities.
You're absolutely right. Look at case studies from Google Fiber. What happened before Google Fiber came in and what happened after they built their fiber. Look at Chattanooga, Tennessee, and how their GDP increased overall over the last 10 years. They're one of the fastest growing cities in the United States because of the development of having fiber connectivity and broadband. They've been allowed to actually increase their GDP over the last 10 years.
When we look at this right now, have you, in the research that you've done, economically, do you see what kind of revenue this is going to bring from both the citizens, taxes, you know, the bottom line to help thrive in the community that you guys are looking at right now? Have you put some real hardcore numbers to this?
We have not, and because the fiber ring is a catalyst for a lot of different things, and we are expecting as a region, we're expecting to, again, increase our GDP over the next 30 years. So we have what's called an Envision 2040 plan. So over the next, 30 years, what is the plans for the citizens? So we base mostly everything on citizen services. So then with the fiber ring itself, we're saying, okay, so how can we, if we have an increase, if we bring in businesses and those businesses are employing 1,000 people, how do we increase our traffic flow? How do we make our buildings smart? How do we reduce smog? How do we take areas that are culturally dilapidated and change them for the better so that the citizens actually have a better place to live, that the smog control is controlled, public safety is actually working at its premium. So that we feel that the ring is going to help and enhance all that. So there's no solid numbers on it, but we do know that it is the basis and the foundation for everything we are doing, from economic development to smart cities.
There's something to be said for putting smile on your citizens and your residents, right? There's something to be said when everybody walks around, they got smiles on their faces. There's a lot of money behind all that, right? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all citizens.
Well, how hard was it to unify? I mean, you had what, was it 5 counties, 5 cities to put together? You had to unify all of those. That couldn't have been some easy task all in itself right there.
Not at all, not at all. But you know that the powers that be in this area, they are very technology agnostic, and let me take a step back, right? Let's not use technology as a basis for everything we're doing. They are very versed in making sure their citizens are happy through the 5 regions, and that's one of their goals. So they've always looked at ways to enhance the citizen services. And what they did is they realized by building this fiber ring, it's going to put a smile on their citizens' faces, because it's going to give them the opportunities to be able to provide free Wi-Fi to libraries, HUD housing, homes. There's a lot of capabilities that this fiber ring itself is going to do for the region.
So you're already on a very good positive path of making your citizens, your residents, all of those businesses are there feeling really good about what they're doing and what you're doing. So I want to thank you so much. Jeffrey Biku, Regional Broadband Director under the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Hey, we wish you much continued success. And that's our Learn It for today. Today's word of the day is gig. Now, I realize the word has many different definitions. Historically, it can refer to a 2-wheeled carriage pulled by 1 horse. It can also reference a light, fast, and narrow boat. But now, really, what we want to reference here on Construct Tech TV is technology. Now, as most of you should know, a gig is short for a gigabyte, which is 1,000 megabytes. So today I want to bring this word even closer to home, and I want to talk about a gig city. And a gig city is one that leverages fiber and offers very high speeds. The connectivity can result in much faster downloads, which means a city can provide quicker access to services. Now, a few years ago, I had this great opportunity to travel to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to see the earliest gig cities in action. And this was truly cool because it paved the way and has served as an example for many other cities. And other cities like San Leandro, California, which also recognizes the feeds and speeds are critical for businesses. Google Fiber, for example, is already of Atlanta, Georgia, Austin, Texas, Kansas City, Missouri, Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, and there's a whole host of other cities. Many of the carriers are offering gigs like AT&T, and the list goes on, to be able to offer some of the best broadband experiences, because higher speeds and connectivity can help pave the way for greater innovation. It can help with economic development and attract entrepreneurs to the regions. Citizens get better benefits, and they see long-term expansion for what they can do. And that's what we want to see. And you as builders can offer so much more in the buildings that you're providing with these new gig cities. Gig, that's your word of the day. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching Construct Tech TV, where we are talking tech at the job site.